I have a problem. I've been throwing my things on the nearest surface as soon as I enter my room and then forgetting they exist, and that's because this shelf is just outside my normal line of sight. So I want to solve three main issues: out of sight, out of mind, not having a specific spot for my everyday items, and thirdly, clutter building up, making my shelf in my room look messy. These markings are made not by bark beetles, but actually by scribbly gum moth larvae, native to Australia, and are caused by the tunnelling of the larvae. If you ever go out in the Australian bush on the east, you'll see it everywhere. Apparently not the west though, which is surprising to say the least. I'm starting to really wish I had a proper workbench at this point, as this routing sled was super janky. Not only is the floor on a slope, but I had to stack several specifically sized planks on top of each other to just get enough height above the log but to still reach the top of it with the router. I sanded back the grey dried exterior of the log that it received being baked in the Aussie sun to reveal honestly a quite beautiful golden colour. I made sure to sand off as little as possible, as I quite like the tattooed effect of the scribbly gum tunnels. I received a comment on my last video, offering me some tips on how to get a more precise cut while using my router. So this time I decided to spend some time making a routing template, which unluckily took me much longer than expected with multiple setbacks. This is the first time I've ever used double-sided tape before. I've seen it in a few videos, but never thought it would be able to withstand the forces of a router, so I hope it doesn't fail and ruin the entire project. My trim router is also too small for this job, so I had to make quite a sketchy new router base out of some scrap plywood. I added these pockets with this template to add structure and precision to an otherwise natural piece, as I've been inspired by houses which are built with the natural characteristics of the land, like large boulders incorporated into the house, or small internal gardens built around large pre-existing trees, instead of removing them and being left with a sterile square house. I haven't had the money to buy any wood at all yet, not even plywood. I had to make that plywood template by gluing several pieces of this 4mm thick plywood scrap that I found. The rounded over corners came out quite nice, although I would have liked a little bit more of a round over, but I had no router bits big enough. The bottom came along quickly, as I had cut through the bottom against Google's judgment to make it flat. And I wish I hadn't listened from the beginning and also did it on the top, as it only took about 45 minutes to cut through, and it looks way cleaner. But after the bottom was cleaned up, I got onto making the legs, and I found this old shovel that was not in great shape, but the handle would seem fine, and it would save me from having to try and create a makeshift lathe and round some other timber. So I marked out small 4.5cm legs and then cut off the head to throw away. I know I should make a jig for this miter saw to stop the tear out. It's on the list. I just don't have the timber at the moment. Once the legs were cut, I set out to find the right layout that would give me the best stability, as this log isn't perfectly round and I can't just place them in a triangle and call it a day. With that sorted, I carefully and slowly drilled holes for the legs, making sure to not split the log by drilling too aggressively next to one of the cracks. This is really a teaching moment for me, as my first attempt at threading an insert taught me to maybe not buy the cheapest possible item that disintegrates when you use it. But with a little delicate tightening and a quick new hole drilled, I inserted all 3 feet. It's funny how as soon as you start doing something, you seemingly notice it everywhere. I've been working on this log project for a little while now, on and off, and I was scrolling through a woodworking subreddit, and I saw a post of a very similar build, just done way better, with awesome integrated feet, which I wish I knew how to do, but I can't figure out how I'd cut them out. I've had this piece drying for a while now, half intentionally and half through procrastination, but I thought it would still be best to put a protective coat on it, and hopefully by this point, all the bugs and insects have left the log. Although it's quite annoying being restricted to only timber that I can find, instead of being able to buy perfectly square timber, it helps me stay creative in my problem solving. For my next video, I've been designing a bedside table that will force me out of bed in the morning, as I have a really bad habit of pressing snooze, or even worse, just turning the alarm off, and going back to sleep. So if a bedside table that forces you to actually get out of bed in the morning sounds like it interests you, subscribe, and I'll hopefully have that video out soon.